Okay, so this is Trevor from GHD-repair.co.uk, and we have got some GHD Trizone tongs, not generally regarded as repairable. Never had a pair in before, but I thought I would buy a pair just so we can take a closer look. I've absolutely no idea how these come apart. I do know that the cable can be replaced. We have replacement cables for these with moulded UK plugs, but how you change it, how we get into these, I have literally no idea. So we're going to take a look. There is a cap here that does show a gap in there and the very end when I pull that around, but I'm not saying it comes off. There is what looks like a little rubber, a little silicone bung there for a screw possibly, so we'll start by seeing if we can get that out. Oh, there we go, and that does reveal a small Phillips screw, so we might as well undo that. I've got nothing else at the moment to go on other than that. It's quite a long screw. Now that has lifted this cover, and here is loose, but it is tight here. Now I suspect this is like some of the other GHD hair straighteners. This is a plastic piece that pushes on and clips over both halves of the arm as a nice finishing piece. So let's see if we can actually get that off. Yeah, and we can. I've just slightly levered that, and that comes off there like so. It feels like it's metal. No, it is. That's a surprise. I was expecting that to be a plastic piece, but it's not. It's metal. Now that has revealed a further two screws here. I don't know whether they're the same as the first one. No, in fact they're different sizes. I'll line them up. Hopefully you can see the different sizes. So obviously crucial not to put that longer one back in here, otherwise you'll be going straight through and out the other side. So I'm guessing now this will lift off. There we go. It looks like the bottom piece comes off. Yeah, there is a little piezo buzzer there and some contacts there. And if we turn this over now, you can see the circuit board. And again, we've got this flexprint. It's very, very fragile, just like the newer models of GHDs, and this is what makes them unrepairable. So we should be able to pull that cable out quite easily, and that can be replaced if it's damaged. Let's see how else, what else we can take out. There we go. That bottom cover comes off. So let's do a little close up. We've got a little daughter board with the switch on. In fact, there's a small board here, and that is on a flexprint style PCB. They've just done that to stiffen this up. If you look underneath, there is a piece of board just to stop that flexing. There's some double-sided stuck rubber or some sort of insulation pad that is holding the rest of that flexprint circuit board, and it's joined down here. Obviously a nightmare to work on. The chances of damaging the flexprint is always present. Very little, I would imagine, that we can do with these. So that's how to get the things apart. So at this stage, if you had just purely damaged the cable, you would be able to fit a new cable quite easily, but you would just have to be really, really careful not to damage any of this flexprint. The weakest area is going to be in here. Now it looks like we've got a piece here that slides off. Don't know whether that will come out fully. It does it? Yes. Okay, so there is a piece there that slides off completely, and that leaves a hinge pin Again, if I give you a closer look, you can see the type of end that we expect to see on fake GHDs, that hexagonal bolt, and obviously these are genuine, but if these were hair straighteners with that type of arrangement, we wouldn't be happy at this point. So we are going to undo that, lift that out. Quite a chunky bolt. At this point we should be able to press that out. There we go. That's flown out there. And we should be able to lift that out. Now you can see the spring position. There is a nylon sleeve, very similar but a lot smaller to the GHD hair straighteners. It's a similar mechanism. And the flexi print sits over that little piece of plastic there, it just holds it in place, takes the tension off it, so if you're pulling this around, the tension is actually just on that plastic rather than here and further down. Now at this stage I've no idea how these come apart further. I do see a screw just in there, so I think we've only got to only choice we've got is to undo that, and that seems to have loosened at the end. It suddenly felt loose at the end, but maybe not. Again, longer screw, similar length to the black one. Okay, so it looks like this is coming out now. Oops, didn't notice how that came out. Yeah, so it looks like there's a piece of plastic there that can just fall out on you if you're not sure. Now, is that broken? It certainly looks broken to me. Oh, that's a rubber piece, and again that's broken, but at least that's enabled me to get that plastic moulding out. Yeah, silicone rubber just split there, and that has again, as I say, broken. Now there's a lot of discoloration. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see in there or not. There's some sort of residue on the flexi print. It looks totally cooked. There's two flexi prints back to back, so I'm guessing there is probably two elements. Not sure. How do we get that further apart? No idea. I'm going to try and prise the end off. Like I say, we've got, oh, that moved. So do we have a piece that will, oh, okay. Just prising that back has loosened it, and it's, I think it's going to lift off. Oh, there we go. So this is, that is metal, and the element is actually on here. That's the element that you're looking at just here. That is a mylar sheet. I assume it was, actually I don't know which way around that was. Yeah, it must be that way. There's a hole that lines up there. That is a silicone rubber piece there. It really isn't obvious how that comes apart any further. So I think we're going to try and get the very end off, perhaps. Ah, there we go. Oh yeah, so that is clipped in place. Again, probably quite fragile, those clips, they get pretty hot. It's come off okay, they are intact. And then at the end here we have another screw. Again, is that the same length as the other one? I think it is. Oh, then another cap comes off, another plastic piece, and just going to break that off. So, there we go. That's one element off. Now here's the problem. These elements look exactly the same as the ones used on the Platinums, I think. I'd have to go and look at my own video actually and just confirm that. And they are an absolute nightmare. They're very often broken. The flexprint here breaks. Underneath we've got there's a silicone pad there. That's what's I've picked part of it off. That is part of this whole pad. I'll just lift this up and show you. Hopefully you can see that. There is a thermal fuse in the centre there. Let me just show you that element. So we should just be able to slide this underneath there, and that will ease away. There we go. That has split because I was tugging it around, I think. Again, very similar arrangement to the earlier or the later models of hair straightener. They use a fuse with this track. Let's see if we can get that out. There you go. Very, very discoloured, as you can probably see. The two contacts are here. In fact, three. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's three contacts. Obviously, only two ends, but there's two contacts on that one track and this one there. And there is a little heat transfer pad just on there. I'm going to peel this off. I'd love to know what rating this thermal fuse is at. Just going to gently scrape that off. And I think I'll show you the thermal fuse. I think that is going to be 230 degrees. That is my guess based on the numbers on there. Little pad. So now, how do we get to this other side? I assume that we lift this side off just like we lifted the other one off, and in fact that's exactly what happens, I think. There we go. That seems to be a little stuck this time. Why is that? Oh, there we go. Oh, I see. The reason the other one broke is there is a locating lug actually on the silicone. I don't know whether you can see it. Just there, there's a raised lug, and I actually managed to rip it off of the other side. It would have been where that hole is, and if you look in here, it's actually been left behind. So that's just to enable you to line that up correctly so you know it's all in the right place there. It falls into that lug. Strangely, no thermal paste or anything like that. They're purely relying on this. That's very fragile. Again, looks a bit cooked. I think it's some sort of mylar. tape, and now we can lift out that second element. Let's see if we can get that out without damaging it this time. And there you go. You can also see now that you've got a central piece. That's all this is built up around, and you have the little trims with the GHD Trizone technology logo on it, and it all just slides together. Doesn't look to be side specific. Actually it is. There is a difference, of course, because the thermal fuse sits that side, so yeah, of course there's a difference. So yeah, really not much else to say. You can see all the parts there. Again, really only the the cable is the only real changeable part. I'm just going to do some checks on these elements whilst we've got it in bits, just to see what readings we get. I can't remember the readings we used to get off the Platinums, but let's have a little look, see if we can read anything. I'm sure I'm on anything there. No, it's not. We'd have to go right back to the test points, I think, which are up here. Again, without knowing what the test points are, let's see if we get anything. So we've got 380 ohms there, 378, so it looks like I'm reading the two elements there. Of course the thermal fuse isn't in place, so that's not going to be very helpful. So yeah, absolutely none of this is repairable, of course, unless there was something very, very obvious. Trying to see what that chip is. Well, it's a PIC 32 MX 130 FO64D, I think that says. So pretty standard stuff. But absolutely not repairable. Cable change only, I'm afraid. So that is that, really. Not much else I can advise you on there. That's how it comes apart. And you can see the discoloration. I just noticed that. You see the level of discoloration on that flexi print. It's almost black, that end, and a sort of tan colour further back towards the circuit board. I don't think that's a deliberate colour process that they've applied. I think that is just the heat that's been coming off of these. Yeah, interesting. So they seem to be a little bit better than the Platinums and the Eclipse before that, as far as the quality of the flexi foil. There really is nothing much you're going to be able to do with any of that. Not least being the fact that there are no spares other than the mains cable for this, so you'd have to have a few of these and try and salvage parts from them to really do any sort of meaningful repair. And as many of us have tried in the past, you can't get these elements, and if you had a good one and one was faulty, it's almost impossible to remove the flexi print easily without damage. In fact, let's just do that now. Actually, I'll just fire up the hot air and we'll see if we can actually get one of these off for you, and you'll be able to see the problem. actually I think there's tape over the whole thing. Let me just place that back in there. Yeah. Again, you can see the problem with this. There is a pretty certain there's a very thin layer of tape over this, so that is not helping the heat transfer. There we go, which is why I couldn't get any readings off of it. I'd forgotten there was tape on there. Let me just turn that down. So let's take some readings off of here. Tri-zone, so you've got 3 thermistors. You can see them on there, the 3 little dots in the middle. So let's just take a look at the readings on each of these zones. 184, 197, a 193, so we know that one is okay. Not sure what we're going to get on the thermistor. 1.8k, 2.5, 2.7. Let's try to remove that again. So if this had cracked and you had a spare one, this is the process that you'd have to go through, and it is troublesome. Well, that definitely doesn't want to come off, does it? There's probably some adhesive possibly underneath there. We've got one end up. Just doesn't want to come off. Bring that temperature up a little bit. I'm surprised I've got to, but let's try it. And again now, it's just those thermistor connections that seem to be the issue. There we go. So you can see the contacts there. They will generally clean up. But getting a good soldered join again is well, almost impossible. So you can see I've successfully tinned all of those, but the problem is getting it to the right temperature so that reflows. You know, really is a tough one. We certainly didn't pursue it any further with the Platinums and the other earlier models, but it's a shame because they could be repairable if somebody had thought about it a bit more. And we thought about hardwiring each individual one back to the main board, but when you get back to the main board here, the tracks are absolutely tiny. It's very hard to follow. There's no real safe place to tack on heat resistant wires and replace all of this. It just, you know, it's too much trouble for what they're worth, unfortunately. So yeah, look, there we go. That's just a little look at the Tongs. I don't know what model they are, unfortunately. It's worn off of the label. I'll probably just look that up and add that on later. Yeah, there we go. Hope that was helpful in some way.